Hello everyone, my name is ZCRGator and welcome back to Tier List Tuesday. Today's tier list is all about tiers. That's right, we will be ranking the tiers of a tier list in a tier list. With that being said, if you end up enjoying today's video, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it really helps your boy out, and comment down below. What is your favorite tier and why? And what is your least favorite tier and why? I would love to know down below in the comments. But with that being said, let's get started, and we are kicking things off with the A tier. I think the A tier goes in the A tier. So the A tier, I think, is a really solid tier. It is not the best tier. That's why it's not going into the S tier. But I think it's just a notch below the S tier, which gives it the qualifications of the A tier. Up next, we have the B tier, and honestly, I think the B tier is kind of mid. I almost kind of want to put it in the D tier, and the only reason why is because sometimes it's tough to differentiate if I think something is above average or if I think it's really solid. But that's the thing, like if it's above average it goes in B, but if it's incredibly solid it would go in A. If it's the best of the best it goes into S. Obviously that's easy to differentiate, but the B tier sometimes confuses me, and the D tier also kind of confuses me, so that's why I'm also going to put it in the C tier, because it's kind of, I feel like both tiers are a little mid, if you know what I'm saying. Whereas the C tier, I think the C tier goes into S tier, because the C tier, that is absolutely average. It is objectively mid and mediocre, and I feel like it's pretty easy to tell what is mid or mediocre. So that's why the C tier goes into the S tier, because it's absolutely vital that you have a mid tier, and that's what the C tier does. It accomplishes exactly what it's looking for, being mediocre. Up next, we have the E tier, and the E tier honestly is non-existent on almost every single tier list, because who uses an E tier? If you're going to use an E tier, get out of here. I'm just saying, it's always, look at the tiers that we have right here: S, A, B, C, D, F. Guess what we skipped? E, because we don't want the E tier. It just doesn't make sense. And if anything, I guess the E tier is technically more of a failure than an F tier, because if you think about it in terms of classes, like if you're taking a college course and you absolutely flunk out of the course, you get an E. You can theoretically have an F in a course, but if you get an E, that means you absolutely flunked out, you failed. I didn't even know that E's were a thing until I got an E myself on one singular course, and it made me feel bad. It made me feel bad. Because it made me feel bad, it goes into the bottom F tier, because it's dumb. It's dumb. I don't like it. Up next, we have the F tier. The F tier goes into the S tier, because the F tier is objectively supposed to be the worst tier. And it's really good to have an established worst tier. So that's why the F tier goes into the S tier, because the F tier is honestly, it's a really solid tier. And then we have the S tier. And of course the S tier has to go into S tier, because that's the best tier. The three best tiers on a tier list are the S, the C, and the F tier, because you need to differentiate what is the best in a tier, what is absolutely mid in the middle of a tier list, and then what is the absolute worst doo-doo garbage trash in a tier list. And that is what all three of these tiers absolutely accomplish here. The S, C, F, they all go into the S tier, because they are the best tiers. They are the best of the best amongst the tiers. And then of course we have the SS and the SSS tiers. I guess those are tiers that are obviously better than S. It's like, oh, this is like, even though the S tier is the best, this is technically better, and then this is the best of the best. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really done a tier list with SS and SSS in them yet, so I feel like I'm not qualified to personally speak on these two tiers. But if I had to rank them, they just kind of feel like D tiers, you know? They just kind of feel like D tiers. And you know what? Even though I was talking about the D tier being in C tier, just because it makes me feel better to look at it this way, I think the D tier gets to go up in B tier, because sometimes being above average can be tough to tell. When you have an A and a B, sometimes it's tough to differentiate between the two. But a D and an F is really easy, because you could have something that's below mid, but not be the absolute worst. Whereas you could have something that is above average, but sometimes it could be tough to differentiate if you think it's incredibly above average or if it's just slightly above average, if you know what I mean. So that's why I think the D tier actually accomplishes what the B tier sets out to do, but much better. So that's why it goes into the B tier, but it's not in quite A tier, if you know what I mean. But with that being said, I think that wraps up our tier list of tiers. If you ended up enjoying today's video, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it really helps your boy out, and comment down below, what do you think of this tier list? Is it objectively correct? I don't know. I can't really I don't have the qualifications to comment on an SS or an SSS tier, so it probably is an incorrect tier list. It's probably flawed in that way, but that's okay, because it's my tier list, and that's what matters the most. With that being said, I hope you all have an absolutely phenomenal day, phenomenal rest of your week, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye!